Hey students, here we are for our last lesson on rook endgames for now. Soon we're going to start talking again about middle game and openings, but this position, the Lucena position, is a must know. There's no way you can go around this. You have to know it just as well as you know the Philly door position. And just like we did last class, I'm going to go straight to the point. In 1 minute, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Lucena position, about the bridge technique, and then we're going to play around with it. I'm going to play it versus an engine, that way you really get the hang of it. It's not enough to just know what it is, you have to know how to use it to your advantage, how to get to it, and how to make it work from different angles. So basically the Lucena position is from the perspective of the person with the advantage. So it's the person that has the extra pawn in this rook endgame, and not only that, they have their other king cut. We talked in our last lesson how important it is to use our rook to cut off the king. Without this king able to help the rook, it's going to be very easy for you to win. But you have to know the right technique. And all that I really need you to get from this lesson, guys, is the idea of the bridge. So this is what it is. If I'm already here, my pawn is about to promote, all I need to do is get my king out and let the pawn promote. But the problem is, if I just do that right now, this rook is going to start putting me in check from behind. Notice that the rook is pretty far from the king, so this is perfect for the rook to start putting me in check. If I get out of the way, check. If I go here again, check. If I try to go towards the rook, they're going to put me in check, and I cannot go any further because the pawn falls. So this perpetual check could be a very good resource for the black pieces to make this a draw. So what do we do in that case? We cannot just get out like that. And some of you might be thinking, I could just put my rook here, and that prevents the other rook from coming onto this file. But they have this move, king g7. And then our king cannot get out this way because of this king, of course, and I cannot get out the other way because of the rook. So if I put him in check, they're just going to come back here and we get to the same position. So all we need to do, guys, is the bridge. And this is what it is. You're going to put your rook on the 4th rank. And this is all you have to do. Now, let's say they just go, I don't know, rook here. Now your king can't get out because when they put you in check, you're going to do the same thing, check. You're going to get out of the check, but you have to continue to protect the pawn. So if I wanted to go towards the rook, the pawn falls. So you're going to go to f6, then they're going to put you in check again. You go towards the rook on the same file as the pawn, and when they put you in check one more time, you have what they call the bridge. So you put the rook in front of the king, and that's it. If they take you, you take back, and the pawn is going to promote. If they don't, then you're going to take the rook. If they just move away, you're going to promote, and this should be very easy to win. So this is in essence, guys, what the Lucena position is all about, what the bridge technique is. And to be honest, at this point, what I need you to know is that sometimes you have your extra pawn, you're about to promote, you need the king to get out. So you need this idea of the bridge. If you just get out, maybe you just get out, you forget about the bridge, right? And they're just putting you in check, and you're going to soon find out this is not going to work. So I need it to be at the back of your head. You're going to be like, I remember the bridge, and then you're going to utilize it. Now, with that said, guys, there are a few things that you have to know about the bridge. Number one, in order for this to work, we need to have the king, your opponent's king, 2 files away from the pawn. If that's not the case, it is not going to work. And let me explain to you why. So let's say that I do this move like I did before, and the king comes over, and I just do a tempo, and they decide to just move the rook away, so they let me get out. Here, even if I do the bridge, let's say it's something like this, and I get out, and then they put me in check, we know the technique, check, check. Finally, when they put me in check, if I do the bridge now, they're going to take me, and then this king is going to be close enough to get to the pawn. So they're going to win the pawn. So this is why we cannot forget that the king has to be at least 2 files away from the pawn. So if we go back to the same position here, let's say I was on this position, he came over, I have to make sure that I put him in check and I send him away 2 files. When he goes out, then I do the bridge. Now, what if the king, when I put him in check, he goes over here towards the pawn? Well, now you have this move, king f8, and you're going to use this king as a shield, and that way he cannot put you in check anymore. So now you're just going to promote. That's it. If they go over here, you promote, give him my queen, they take it, you take it back, you know how to win this. I'm going to now go over to play this position versus an engine, and that's going to help us consolidate everything, and it's going to help us play around with it, that way it sticks. So here we are. So I put it on this board, and I'm going to choose to continue from here. versus a computer. So I want to play versus number 8, I guess is the best one, and I want to be the white pieces. So here, guys, notice that my pawn is not already on the 7th rank. I need to work on it. So if you look at this position, the first thing I need to look for is to cut the king off. You cannot forget this. Any rook endgame like this, always look for ways to keep your opponent's king out of the game. So immediately, I'm going to cut him off. If I don't do it right now, that king is going to get in the way, and you know the Philidor position. So if you're familiar with the Philidor, you know that just doing checks, and again, some people like to just do checks, they get nervous, they just don't know what to do. If you just do checks, this king is going to come over to get in front of the pawn. Look, check. So what I need to do, guys, in order for this not to be a draw, immediately I'm going to look for ways to cut off the king. It doesn't matter where the king is, I'm going to cut him off, right? So first stage, now he's putting me in check from behind, but I can get in front of the pawn. So this is the difference between the Philidor and this position. Now I need my pawn to advance, so I'm going to get out of the way to advance my pawn. There you go. So my pawn is about to go. Put him in check, that's fine. This is, we talked last class too about the short side. The rook is on the short side, meaning that they don't have much space to maneuver. So my king goes towards the rook. And there you go, he has to go from behind. That's the best way to operate. Now, my pawn is just going to go. The king cannot get to it. The rook cannot get to it. There you go. Now, my king comes over to support. Check. Okay, so I'm going to get in the way. That's fine. And I'm about to start putting the Lucena in practice, the bridge. So guys, here we go. If I just do the bridge, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to be able to do it, but by the time we trade rooks, this king is going to be too close. So I need to remember, okay, the bridge, but I've remembered the king has to be far away. So I put him in check. And there you go. We have the two files. This king is not going to be close enough. Now I'm going to put my bridge in practice on the 4th rank. There you go. My king is going to get out, ready to promote. Check. All right. Then look, many people here, especially if you're in time pressure, they might feel the need to just play fast and they're going to get away from the pawn. So you lose it. So I need to just move out of the way, but still keep an eye on the pawn. Now he had to sacrifice it, guys, because, and now we know how to win this, so we're going to take the rook. If he didn't, let's say he put me in check again, I'm going to go here, then he's going to put me in check, and my rook is going to block it. That's the end of it. So at this point, let me see if I go back, if the engine does something else. Let's say if I go here. Now, the engine is going to take, so, oh no, they didn't. Well, I think I can do, look, can I do this? All right, so here we go. Okay, we got it done. So you see, the rook anyways is going to help us block the checks. All right, I'm going to promote. This is easy. If they had gone to d7, guys, I'm going to put them in check. They have to get out of the way, and I promote. So let me clear this actually. If the king had gone to d7, I put him in check to make them go away, and then I'm going to promote the same thing. Now here it's just way easier. I get my queen. I'm going to take, and at this point in the course, you should know how to finish this. So there you go, guys. Very simple. Now do you know the Lucena position, you know the bridge, you know what it is all about. Of course, these rook endgames are way more complex. There are so many other things that we have to go over, but at this point in the course, this is what I need you to know. So if you have the time, play this position versus an engine, make sure that you understand it, and if you do that, then we're ready to move on to our next lesson. Like I said at the beginning, it's time to go back to middle game and opening and work a little bit more in those areas. With that said, guys, leave me any questions that you might have in the comment section, and I'll see you next class.